Hi everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti, and welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. Hello everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti with Relay Corporation, and here we are. It is eLearnChat. Joining me, as always, it is Dawn Mahoney. Hey Dawn, how are you?
Hello. I missed you last week.
Yeah, where were you?
I was in Houston. Where were
Houston.
you?
I was here.
Oh, you were
Alone.
supposed to be
I
gone.
was
That's what it was.
all alone, just here.
All
In that very seat.
alone.
Well, Dawn, we've got a returning guest. She came
I'm
back
so
for
glad.
visit number 2.
My friend Fiona Quigley is with us from Ireland today in the Belfast area, and I'm so excited to continue the story of stories. And she has some passion projects to share with us today. So welcome, Fiona.
Hi, Fiona.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me back.
Oh,
Glad you're
our
here.
pleasure.
Glad you're here. So where do we want to start? We have so much to talk about.
Indeed, indeed.
Where would you like to start? Do you want to show us your learning disabilities e-learning project?
Yeah, I suppose I could give you a little background to it first.
Yes.
We're just, I'm working for a company in Belfast. I suppose I've changed jobs since I last talked to you guys last year. So I'm working for a company called Logic Earth Learning Services. And we're a full service e-learning company, from e-learning content to learning technologies, LMSs, learning portals, and so on. But in the last couple of years, we've been working on a very interesting, what we would call European project. And it was to help teach entrepreneurial skills, setting up your own business to people with intellectual disabilities or learning disabilities. And it was very interesting for a number of different viewpoints, understanding the target audience. I am by no means an expert on people with learning difficulties. I know about creating online content and e-learning and engaging content, but we worked with a lot of experts in the learning disability field to try and really understand and see what would engage this audience. And as Dawn said, it is a passion project because this particular audience is very underserved, and their expectations in terms of employment and career opportunities are quite low. So to come up with a program that was really going to engage and open up opportunities for people with learning disabilities in terms of employment opportunities is a very exciting prospect, and something that we were really engaged with to try and get working. So European project, there was about 5 or 6 different European partners. I mean, the story of the project is an interesting one as well, because not only was the project done and completed in English, it's also translated into Finnish, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. And even some of the technical challenges around that. Rick, you're probably familiar with Storyline and XLIF files and translation. You know, some of the technical challenges around that took a little bit of working out as well. But the focus of the project was to deliver this entrepreneurial program in a very kind of bite-sized fashion, very engaging, very visual, and relating to the experience of the person with learning disabilities, to really bring home to them the fact that starting your own business or getting a job in an area that you really love wasn't completely beyond their capabilities, and really to be inspired, to inspire them to take up that challenge.
Now, what kind of learning disabilities are we talking about?
Yeah, it's the full remit of intellectual disabilities. As I say, I'm not an expert in that particular area, but you know, it's just, you know, the spectrum of the range of disabilities across that entire area.
Okay.
Oh, Tom just dialed in. I'm so excited to see this. I didn't realize you had so many language translation projects running in parallel. We talked certainly while you were working on it, but that even raises the level of complexity significantly from there. So I'm anxious to see it.
Yeah, well, indeed it does. So do you guys have a URL there, or do you want me to bring one up, or?
Which one do we need to bring up right now? We have them.
Yeah, so it's the one that's logicearth.com/be inspired.
Okay, do you have that one, Clark?
Be inspired.
Here we go.
There we go. Tom just joined the chat room. That looks good.
Yeah, that's the video, so it's the other one.
Based in Lisburn,
it's the other one.
Northern Ireland. We provide services that support people with...
It's the other one, Clark.
It's the other one. So again, a wee bit of background. The program was, it was adapted from a mainstream program that was run in local colleges. It was taught to, I suppose, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And the original program was quite academic. It was very text-based. It was quite wordy, very little visuals, lots of written assignments. As I say, kind of qualifications at the end, and by no means would that have been easily translatable to an audience with learning difficulties. So our challenge was to work with the experts and really kind of chunk it down and use a lot of the good techniques around e-learning, helping to visualize content, visualize examples, make it really relevant to the target audience. And we used the technique of trying to ask the target audience to relate their current skills, so how they are with their friends, how they organise trips to the cinema, you know, how they help people out in their local communities. All of those skills are really transferable skills into starting your own business, and those sorts of analysis were very important in order to bring this content to life. So this is the opening screen. There's 12 of these little short independent topics. They're all about, you know, between 7 and 10 minutes long. They've got lots of different little animations and audio sequences and a little bit of music. And interestingly, we use a lot of characters from Go Animate that they really resonated with the target audience. So you can just click on those. So it's a little bite-sized chunk, very visual content. You can see in the top right-hand corner, you're told kind of the pages that you're on, so that you know when you're going to finish and so on. So if you just continue to click next there, take you through some of the content. So also imagine that, you know, this can be done as independent study, but a lot of the times it will be done with a tutor in a classroom, and there'll be lots of kind of backup group work and discussions around the content. And lots of building of social skills and so on, as well as reinforcing the techniques in the content. So just click on through there, please.
And what has the feedback been like?
The feedback it's literally just been released this week, Dawn.
Oh, okay.
There's a European launch in I think it's in Spain in this Friday, and then we're doing an online launch in a few weeks' time as well. But it was piloted across all the different European countries, you know, Finland, Spain, and so on. And the feedback has been really, really good. It's been really good. And it's just the fact that no resource of this really existed before. It was that kind of academic type course that sometimes people with learning disabilities were invited to sit in the class and got special tuition. There wasn't like a dedicated resource for them to suit their learning needs and their learning styles. And this is the first dedicated resource of its kind in Europe.
I don't think anything like this exists in the United States that I'm aware of either. So there's probably a huge market for it. It's a drag and drop, Clark, right?
Yeah, so, that's right. Yeah. So you just continue on.
Move those around.
So as I say, there's 12 of these little topics, and it's backed up with lots of offline activities. So it's very much a blended solution. And it's interesting when you start to break down the topic of entrepreneurship and all of the different definitions that we take for granted. You know, how do you explain risk? How do you explain initiative?
Entrepreneurs use
you know, that's quite challenging. You know, particularly when some of our audience may you know, struggle with social skills and communication skills and so on. So it's very useful to have a tutor or a teacher in the class to be able to kind of tease those things out. And the good thing then about having an e-learning program, I suppose, is a little bit of a backup, is that, you know, they can take the content as many times as they want as a reinforcement. They can discuss it at home with their families, or if they live in a care situation and so on. It's always there as a reinforcer.
So just to be cynical, so this is actually meant to train the future politicians of our world. Yes. Sorry, I had to let that go.
Yes, that's slight lateral thinking there, Rick, but yeah, potentially. So yeah, so you can imagine. So what I'm showing you on screen is just one small snippet. It's 1/12 of the overall program. And if you do break down the skills of being an entrepreneur, you know, how do you show confidence? How do you show teamwork? How do you show initiative? How do you show enthusiasm? You know, how do you show resilience? All of those really key topics that, as I say, you know, they're everyday terms that we may take for granted, but, you know, by putting them within an e-learning content, I suppose, program, visualizing them, basing them around a lot of different examples, that's the way that people with learning disabilities can really spend time getting to grips with their meaning. And don't forget that the overall aim of this is to be inspired. It's to inspire people with learning difficulties to really open up their career options and not be limited by what society thinks of them.
Right.
And that's so important. And, you know, if we can get a handful of people with learning disabilities starting to think, oh, maybe I can team up with someone else and start my own business and do something. And these could be any types of business, from dog walking to washing people's cars in the local community and so on, you know, to, you know, creating websites and so on. And certainly those are some of the examples that have come out whenever we've been piloting the program.
Well, right, because one of the things that is erroneous thinking in most people is that if people have a disability in one thing, and really a disability, it can be defined in many, many ways. It could just be a simple challenge in one area. It could be something totally disabling in another, but that's just one part of the person. And that doesn't mean they can't overcome that and do a whole mess of other things with it. So, yeah, it's
absolutely.
Even economically challenged, right?
Oh,
so there's no boundaries, in other words.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you'd asked me at the start, Rick, about, you know, the types of disabilities that it covered. And yeah, you know, I kind of quite rightly said I'm not an expert in this area, but you're right, it can cover such a range from autism to, you know, communication difficulties, you know, hearing and all sorts, but it's mainly around intellectual and cognitive disabilities.
Yep.
It's very interesting.
So I mean, besides the kind of the target audience and really trying to inspire them, I mean, you know, some of the other challenges in the project were logistical and technical as well. So we were working across, you know, 4 or 5 European countries, and a lot of the meetings, you know, we all know our challenges of working with subject matter experts. So you can imagine working with subject matter experts in different cultures in different countries. And we have a brilliant team here in Logic Earth who just manage that whole process very seamlessly. You know, kind of hopping on a plane and going to Italy to talk to a subject matter expert, and then doing the same here in Ireland, and pulling this program all together over the period of 2 years. It was really a good job by the team here.
That's great. And you used Articulate Storyline as the authoring tool?
We did, Rick, yes. And we had a little bit of kind of fun and games with XLIF as well. You know, I don't, have you used XLIF much?
No.
No. So we would have exported out, we would have created the English version of the course first, and we would have then exported that out and sent it to our translation company, who then, you know, would have coordinated the translation into the 4 different European languages. But when we get the file back, then supposedly you import the XLIF file straight into Storyline, and it seamlessly translates all the different words.
Right.
But what happened to us was it dropped the odd word here and there. So I mean, that was a little bit of a challenge. Now Articulate were quite good in responding to us and helping us through that process, but you know, with 4 European languages and a fairly tight deadline, I mean, that was a fairly hefty technical challenge to get through. And you know, maybe sometime again we can talk about the ways to better organise how you might translate e-learning content, because there's certainly some lessons learned that I could share.
Did it drop both your audio words and the on-screen, or was it just mainly in the audio?
No, it was the on-screen, Dawn. You know, so we'd get paragraphs of text with maybe some phrases missing and words missing and so on. And then obviously, you know, we're native English speakers, so that was an extra bit of coordination for us to then go back to the partners in the different countries for the native English speakers to check it for us. You know,
Now, I thought when
that took a little bit of extra time, and maybe to have realised that up front and organised that up front. You know, with translation, it never goes 100% the way you think it will. You know, that would have been very useful.
Now, I thought when you brought it back into Storyline, you bring back, let's say, an updated Word doc or something, and it automatically adjusts it. Is that not what happened?
Yeah, it is, but it was doing it maybe between 80 and 90%. Rick, it was dropping some words. And as I say, because we weren't native, you know, Spanish and Italian speakers and so on, we couldn't take the risk that it hadn't missed a lot, so we had to send that back for rechecking. But I mean, speaking to a few people who use XLIF with different, I suppose, authoring packages, you know, not just Storyline, I think that's quite common.
Right.
So you need to have somebody that's both literate in the visual word and also in the audio, really checking in parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the stage of the project that we're at the minute is that, as I say, it's just been launched. And the next stage is to have the course actually run by local colleges in all the different European countries, and also have charities, charitable organisations and community group organisations run the course. And we'd hope that maybe within about 6 months' time, we will have a lot more feedback on, you know, I'm really keen to see how the course is used and the difference it makes, because that's the holy grail for all of us in e-learning, is that we don't, or, you know, workplace learning, we don't really want to produce stuff that doesn't make a difference. And this particular project really has the legs, I think, to make a difference to people with learning disabilities, and is so needed. It's so needed to raise the bar for people with learning disabilities, who are among the most discriminated people in our society.
I can think of several organizations here that would jump on this idea. So the web-based project is going to be, I think, huge and probably grow rather exponentially quickly. The questions in the chat pod, so each language translation version was stored in a separate file, or how is that the work stream done?
Yeah. So so there's different storylines for each version. So a Spanish version, a Finnish version, Italian, and so on.
And where are they hosted then for the web version?
They're hosted at the minute. They're just being disseminated on DVD, and then they'll eventually be hosted and downloadable from a central website.
Okay, and then the question goes both from the localization effort was very manual, so we've kind of discussed that. Were there content differences that you had to deal with between localities? Was there a lot of change, in other words, that was needed from version to version because of cultural diversity?
No, because I think because at Logic Earth here we had a wee bit of experience in working on kind of cross-cultural projects, so that's something we got, I suppose, pretty much sorted from the beginning. Before we actually went to build in Storyline, we did the storyboards in Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint, and all of those were disseminated and translated first for review, so that we didn't have lots of rework. I mean, the main cultural differences you can imagine were, you know, some businesses in the UK could be very different for how businesses are run in Italy and you know, in Spain. So it was more the localization, and the use of images and so on. It was more that was slightly different. but we had that well covered up front by the storyboards.
And are there modules or a module that has been conceived as far as maybe the job coach or the entrepreneur's coach? Is that something that you're thinking about or maybe is already established?
Not at the minute, but I mean, to be honest, what I would really like to see is that, you know, if people were taking this course and then being supported through their journey into entrepreneurship or starting their own business, then you start to get a little bit of a community of a practice around, you know, different people in different countries who have done this, and then they become role models and champions. I mean, that's the sort of, you know, I'd actually like the people with learning disabilities themselves to become the coaches.
Yeah, that definitely. And I would think that the people where the learning challenge, for lack of better language, the entrepreneurs that are completing these, their job coaches are always enthusiastic, but they maybe need some skill development as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in terms of the other side of the program, how it's supported in the classroom, the blended version, I mean, part of those activities in the classroom are to bring in local entrepreneurs to talk about their journeys and to show examples of what they do. And that's a very important thing too, because then it collects, again, one of the things about people with learning disabilities is sometimes they're quite isolated in their own communities, and kind of reconnecting them with other successful people, and kind of opening up other opportunities for networking. A lot of stuff that we take for granted, and those are very important things to get across as well.
Sure. One of the questions in the chat pod is, how do you deal with dialect differences? So when I think the example given was Canadian French versus Parisian French, I think all the dialects in Spanish is certainly another one to consider.
Yeah, I suppose to be honest, we left that up to the partners, the Spanish partners, and would have made a decision on, you know, just as in the UK, although there are different dialects, you know, Northern Ireland dialect is very, very different from, you know, London and Scotland and so on. There still is a core dialect that most people will understand, and the actual partners themselves made that decision as to what dialect to go to. So it wasn't completely what we would call colloquial. It was kind of the middle of the road language that everyone could understand, and it was certainly looked at up front. That was a very important question.
Interesting. Did you want to show the video that goes with Be Inspired as well, or shall we just tell everybody to go to that website?
Yeah, I'd say people just, if you send them the link, because it's a few minutes long. I mean, I also should say
how long is the video, Fiona?
Sorry.
How long is the video?
It's about, I think it's about 4 minutes.
We can show it if you want. We still have time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
It's beinspired.org, right?
Yeah. No, it's Be Inspired. I think it's .eu.
Oh, okay.
It's beinspired.eu.
Hold on, I'll find it for you.
It's not going to let me type a URL in the chat pod here. So I'm still getting used to Ustream.
So it's beinspiredeurope.eu. So that's a wee bit of the background of the project.
Oh, okay. And Clark is queuing that up.
What I was going to say there was that the idea for this project originated here in Ireland. The project was based on a very successful business course that was being run in a local college, and they kind of saw the need to extend it to a different audience, which is kind of exciting for us, because it just means that, you know, we're working with kind of local partners to create those ideas and then disseminate them across Europe. And we've lots of ideas around trying to improve things for that sort of target audience.
Now, Fiona, this is geared towards people high school and above or college and above?
Yeah, it would be adults, so anything from young adult upwards, you know, kind of 18 years plus.
Okay. Now, it's really a shame that they don't do something similar for younger kids, because that's really where it all starts. You know, a lot of times all
paper
kids,
routes or dishwashing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, also what happens in schools is we tend to teach towards the lowest common denominator. and whether a lot of times people with disabilities aren't disabled at all. It's just an interesting kind of thing. They're bored, they're disengaged, and so they immediately get slapped with, oh, ADHD or this or that, when in reality, the school system's not reaching them. And so therefore, and there was a study once that most of the people who are disengaged in school are probably entrepreneurs at heart, and very different. So they're the ones shunned by most of the teachers because, oh, they're trouble or they're bored or whatever. But in reality, they're the ones who have a lot of stuff actually going for them, but the school system isn't reaching them. So
yeah, I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be used with a younger audience at all, you know. So I mean, I think that's probably worth us exploring.
Right.
The challenge is just, I suppose, it's to get it released for the audience we designed it for.
Sure.
I'm really, as I say, I'm really keen to see it actually being used to create businesses and to improve the lives of people with learning disabilities.
Yep.
And then create a little community of practice that can spread. And you know, once, you know, if that was underway, then I think there's lots of different ways we could look at using it.
That's great. Now, what kind of feedback mechanisms do you have in this to try to judge how successful the program is?
Yeah, I'm intrigued too.
Yeah, so each European partner has a, I suppose, a dissemination program in place where they have set up various focus groups that they'll be in touch with on an ongoing basis, and also the colleges and the community groups that they roll the content out to, they'll be in touch with, and so on. And then a part of the project then will be to collate the feedback from all the European partners, and then make a decision on, you know, whether content needs to be changed or new modules need to be added, and so on. So it's very much, it's not a case of really, you know, if we build it, they will come and just release it. It will be evaluated on an ongoing basis.
That's great.
Well, and I want to get a plug-in for Logic Earth's website for you, too, because you've just recently undergone a transformation of the website, and there are samples of projects out there and also bios on the designers. What else would you like to tell us? I love the colors. I've already told you that, but...
Yeah, we spent a long time finding our image with people with socks. So that was very important. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I've been with Logic Earth here for about a year or so, and prior to that I was working as a freelancer for 3 years, and I mean, I can honestly say it's probably the best bunch of people I've ever worked with.
Excuse me.
You know, they're really enthusiastic, really passionate about the industry, and it's kind of refreshing to see that, because I think sometimes when you get to our age, Dawn, you get a little bit cynical in this industry. You've kind of been there and seen it and done it all, you know.
Wait a minute,
but,
Fiona. Dawn's only 26.
That's right. I just look older.
this bunch of folks that I'm working with are, no, they're very talented and passionate, and you can probably see that on our website. It's not your normal run-of-the-mill e-learning company. I don't know if you can bring it up there, Dawn, can you?
Clark's the man, so logicearth.com.
Yeah, logicearth.com.
You what?
And I think that's true. Speaking of be inspired, right? We need to listen and observe when we have people coming into our worlds that think differently than we do or have a more contemporary approach. The site is mobile enabled and it's fun. I think the best part and the highest form of compliment I can give you is that it's fun. I think it showcases the work that you do that way.
Yeah, so I mean, working with people with learning disabilities is just one of our target audiences. We do a lot of work with the corporate sector and banking and finance and so on. But for all of those industries, we do want to bring something different, and something that really, you know, work has got a very serious business these days, you know, and particularly with in the last few years and of the economy, and people are under a lot of pressure. So the last thing you want to do is have someone sit down a boring click next e-learning course, and that's kind of where we want to try and do something a little bit different. So it's not just about the content, it's about the support behind it and the experience and the animations and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a fully functional 360 view of what can be possibilities. Clark, were you able to pull it up, or
No,
we'll just
we've
send
lost
everybody
connection
there?
with the external server. We're not sure why.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So it's logicearth.com, and then there's just a note. They're talking a little bit about the video, so I think some people have viewed it on their own over there. So that was about Be Inspired as the sponsor organization, that video.
Yeah, so the sponsor organization, or the main partner, was Stepping Stones, and they're the charity in Northern Ireland who organised the project, and we were then the Irish partners with them.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Like I said, I can definitely see United States organizations wanting to jump on this. I suppose funding will be the primary issue, but it's got a lot of appeal, and I think that it's also an opportunity, like you said at the beginning. What else do you want to tell us about in the next 1 or 2 minutes that we have left?
Yeah, so I think that the last session I was on, we talked a lot about storytelling. Wasn't that right? That was what our first session, yeah. So actually, that's a core part of what we do here as well. I mean, a lot of the content that we did for the Learning Disabilities project was based around, typical conversations that you might want to have in business. And those are all around, different stories and scenarios that, people will find themselves in. And that's core to a lot of the e-learning content we do. It's very much scenario based and story based, because really that's how we make sense of the world around us. And we talked a lot about this the last day whenever I was on. If you can't tell a story about your experience, then often you can't remember that experience. And we carry that through into learning as well.
For everybody watching this, whether live or the recording, you can find the recording of that episode on Vimeo in the RELATECASTS channel. And I just watched it again recently, and I just like it. I was talking about story and the relativity of stories with a local Chamber of Commerce group yesterday as it relates to why picture sites like Pinterest and Instagram are so big and growing. People want visual references, and they want the reason Facebook is so popular is because it'll store our photos. We want that and crave that story connection. So we should probably plan another show just on story. I think
we certainly should. And I also should mention that storytelling is a key technique in one of the other latest buzzwords in our industry, gamification. And just for anyone who's watching, we have a webinar coming up on the 7th of November with Carl Kapp, who's doing a session on gamification with us, and on another project on sustainability. We're rolling out a sustainability project about energy saving tips for businesses, and we're looking at using gamification techniques for that.
I'd totally forgotten about that, so thanks for the reminder. Where can we find the link? Is it going to be right on Logic Earth's webpage?
Yeah, if you go to Logic Earth events, it'll be the first. But I'll tweet it after the show as well, so that people can see.
Okay,
it's sort of funny when people talk about sustainability. I know this one company, they had a sustainability director who got laid off.
Say that again, Rick.
Yeah. There was a sustainability director in this company I knew, and he got laid off. And I was thinking,
that wasn't very
that's so apropos.
Because he worked in the Department of Redundancy department.
I guess. It's just sort of sad when, the sustainable person gets unsustained.
When irony meets life, yes.
Although that might be your ultimate success.
Maybe.
You're so successful in your job, they don't need you anymore.
You're obsolete. You're no longer sustainable. You're obsolete.
Yep. Well, Fiona, a pleasure having you on again, and we look forward to having you on once more. Are you coming to DevLearn by any chance?
No, I'll not make it this year, but I certainly hope to make it at some stage.
That sounds good. It's a fun show.
We're working on a few things behind the scenes to bring more of this passion for learning and all of that to this side of the pond. Some more information to come on that.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay. Well, listen, thank you guys. It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on.
And we'll see you next time. And good luck with this project. This is a good project.
I'm anxious to hear how the buzz builds.
Cool. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
It was my pleasure completely.
And Dawn, we will see you next week.
I think so. We'll talk.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. If you're watching the recordings, please subscribe. And if you're watching the live stream, there's a follow us, I think, on top and on the bottom. Click it. Then you'll know when we're on.
It's
Have a good one.
orange. Click follow.
Follow.
Yes,
Have a good one.
follow.
Take care. Bye-bye.